Welcome to Conversations with Aunt Elizabeth, the podcast inspired by my book, I'm a Registered Dietitian, Now What?, where I have the absolute joy to sit back, relax, and have a conversation about nutrition with a variety of people who share their personal story of passion and purpose, especially registered dietitians. Today's conversation is with Anita Davila, an RD2Be who has been on a different road to becoming a registered dietitian and has a passion for integrative nutrition. Anita has such a unique story. On her journey to become a registered dietitian, she has started out with many different interests, and when she decided to go to college, she landed on a nursing degree. While she was doing her classes for her nursing degree, she took a nutrition class, and it was exactly what she had been looking for all along. Anita has put her family first along her journey and has found ways for her to stay active in the dietetics community through the DPG Dietitians in Integrative and Functional Medicine. She is currently working on finding that perfect time to start her internship and pursue her RD credential. Please enjoy my conversation with Anita. Well, thanks so much. I know you have a crazy day today, and I really appreciate you coming on my podcast. And I know that we've connected quite often through social media, especially Twitter. You're very active on Twitter, which I love Twitter because It's so easy. It's so easy to have conversations with people, I think, on Twitter. And that's how we kind of got to know each other just briefly. And I'm excited to get to know more about you today. So maybe take me back to when you kind of had, you learned about dietetics, or you thought maybe being a dietitian was something you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. So we have to go like far back.
Okay. Take me there.
I guess I grew up in Mexico, and I moved when I was almost 20. I was 19, and I had something totally, completely and different in mind. I was into like management or something like that, and but that's what I thought I wanted to do, something with marketing even. And I had this college, this university in mind here in Chicago. And my mom and I, we go, and my mom didn't know about how the whole college and universities like work. And I was a little bit naive too, because it was when I realized how much the tuition was going to be for this private college. And because I had a visa where I couldn't apply for financial aid. So I needed to pay international student fees. And it was just crazy. So my mom was like, oh, how about you go to a community college? And so that's what I started doing. And I was just kind of taking classes, not knowing what direction I was going. And then life took me on a different path, because when I was starting to go to this community college, I started to date who is now my husband. So we already met from church, but because I would see him later taking night classes, and I was taking night classes, and we met and we started dating, and so I got married. So my college kind of was put on hold.
Okay.
And when my firstborn was like a year and a half, I decided, well, maybe I should go back and maybe take it easy, take like one class at a time or something like that, and see what I can do. And at that point, I was interested in like radiography, CT scan, something like that. And so I started taking those prerequisites for that particular program. And I thought it was cool, like computers and CT scans, PET scans, like all of that stuff seemed interesting to me. And I had to take like biology and all of that. And so when I was taking those classes, I realized how much I actually enjoyed like biology and the life sciences and stuff like that. So I actually started looking more into like health programs. And I continued to take like one or two classes at a time, because then I had one more kid. And so at this point I have two children, and I'm taking classes. And then I realized, you know what? What if I'm a nurse? What if I become a nurse? I had a really good nurse when I had my second child. And I feel like I heard the same story from another one of your guests in your podcast, actually, another RD2Be. I think she was also going for nursing at some point. And so, because I had already taken all of the biologies and all this, I was pretty close to having all of the prerequisites for the nursing program. And I think one of the last prerequisites before I could actually apply to the nursing program was a nutrition class. So I took it, and I really enjoyed. I was totally unaware of like nutrition as a profession. And I really, really enjoyed that class. And so what started happening was that I started second guessing my decision of wanting to be a nurse. I still feel like I wanted to give back and wanted to be in the healthcare field. But, it was funny. I would go to the school library, and there was they had like the reference books, and they had like the nursing books and the textbooks and the nursing practical things that you do in nursing. And I started looking into those.
And you were like, oh gosh.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I don't think I want to do that.
That could be.
Yeah. It was a little bit like, I'm not sure. And then the funny thing was that right next to the nursing textbooks, they had one nutrition textbook, which was a Krause. I don't know how to say it. The Krause nutrition textbook.
Oh yeah, the Krause nutrition. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everyone, I feel like everyone has to have it. And so
I think I still have mine upstairs.
Oh yes, I do too. And I go back to it. And I started looking into it and like going through some of the chapters, and I was like, whoa, like this is so interesting. Like nutrition is so important for health and for well-being and all that I was like, you know what, I'm going to look more into this career. And I started researching and I just started looking into it, and I realized, oh, I could be a registered dietitian still in the healthcare field. It's something that I really enjoy. Like I just loved learning about it. I could not be, I was just like, I wanted to buy that book and like take it home, but they wouldn't let me because it's a reference book. And so,
not many people buy reference books.
No. And so, I started looking into it, and it also made more sense to me in my life because nursing would have required me to, I don't know, it just didn't fit into my lifestyle, I guess. I had two children at the time, then I was pregnant with my third. And when I started looking into the nutrition programs, I actually found a bachelor's in nutrition that I could do completely online. So because I already had like most of my general eds and most of the prerequisites for the program, I was able to transfer to the University of Alabama. And they have a great department for distance learning. And they had, so I obtained my bachelor's in food and nutrition with the dietetics track, I guess. So I completed all of my didactic online and I was able to earn my bachelor's. Yeah, it was great because, I had 3 kids. One of them, I was still breastfeeding. I mean, it wouldn't have worked for me to be in school full time or even part time. But this way, it all worked out.
That's great. And that's great that that's available because, I mean, you were busy anyways doing online classes and having a family.
Yeah. I was definitely busy. And there were many times that I did have to go to like a hospital to do some supervised, project or supervised hours. So I did get some hands-on experience with like food service. I had like that one course the food service management and stuff like that. So I did have to actually go to a hospital and kind of shadow a couple of the dietitians, but that was great. I mean, it was great to do that.
You enjoyed that part too. That's great. So how long has it been since you completed your degree?
Yeah, so that was in December of 2015.
Okay.
So it's a little bit.
It's been a couple years.
Yeah, it's been some time. And at the time when I graduated, let me see, my daughter was 2. She was almost 3. And it just, my family is kind of traditional in a sense that, my husband, he's a breadwinner. He works long hours, and then I stay at home. I watch the kids. I have dinner ready at 6 p.m. And so we are that
very
kind of
structured.
Yes, we try to. So it just wouldn't fit in my family's like lifestyle to just. First, we wouldn't have the budget for me to go to try to be in an internship where I'm going to be working probably full time and not get paid. And then I would have to pay for childcare, for like a couple of kids, because one of them was in school full time, but the other 2 were not. So it was just not something that we could do at the time. So I didn't even bother looking for any internship or anything. I mean, I've researched the programs and I have a few that I'm interested in, but yeah, I have not applied to internships at all because until now that my youngest is now in school full time and now I feel like I have more of a availability in my schedule where I could find like a part-time dietetic internship. So now I'm more into looking and preparing my resume for that.
And I think that you are sharing a great experience with the listeners because I think a lot of us do that traditional where we get done with our bachelor's and we go right into an internship. And sometimes life doesn't allow for that. And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have sometimes second guessed this, my career choice, I guess, because I feel like they make it so difficult. I mean, the internship, it's hard to get into. I think it's like 50% match rate. And then, for us, for example, in my case, which I'm sure I'm not the only one who's a full-time mom and, you have your own responsibilities at home. It's not like I can apply to all of the programs across, not that everybody does apply to everyone, but let's say I'm not going to apply to 7 programs. And, if I get matched, I'll relocate to Florida or wherever because I can't. Yeah. I have a family. So yeah, it's not as easy. And then the whole childcare, how would I afford childcare when I'm working but not getting paid during that internship period? So
absolutely.
So yeah, I'm definitely like a non-traditional type of student, or
Absolutely. Is there internships that are available that you can kind of do it part-time and do it at your own pace?
So yes, actually. So going back to the fact that I have to stay local in my area, which I am in Chicago, there are a couple of internships that I would be interested in pursuing, but they are full-time. But I've also researched that there's quite a number of internships that are distance internships. So they allow you to kind of choose your own preceptors and then.
Oh, yeah.
And so when usually people will, or you'll get frightened by the thought of having to pick your own preceptors, right?
Yes. My gosh, yes.
I know that
would scare me.
Yes, I know I was, because I know it was not very difficult for me to find like a preceptor back when I was trying to earn my bachelor's and I needed, to be supervised for certain things. It was kind of daunting and maybe intimidating to just kind of cold call or just show up to someone and say, hey, you want to be my preceptor? So it is kind of, it's a little intimidating, but I kind of like to see it in a positive light. And I want to say that it's actually maybe even better in some cases, because then I can maybe find a specific dietitian that maybe aligns better with maybe my area that I'm interested in, in dietetics. Like, for example, I'm a member of the Dietitians in Integrative and Functional Medicine, the Dietetic Practice Group. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You had yes, you had Mary Purdy in your show. So
yes. And she's great. I want you to kind of talk. Maybe that can kind of lead into a great segue to how you're staying active in dietetics, in between your internship and undergrad. And that seems to be a great area for you. Yes.
So that's what I was going to say. Perhaps maybe when it's time for me to look for a preceptor, maybe I could look into, like, who are the members of this particular dietetic practice group that, that very much align with the type of dietitian I want to be later on in life or whatever. And then maybe I can go from there and pick, some preceptors, and hopefully they'll accept to precept me, in the future. So, that's another thing that, like you mentioned, that I'm staying active and in this time, because I'm not sure if I'm going to apply. I'm not going to apply for this fall internship match. I'll probably apply for the April match. So yeah.
So it's in your future.
Yes.
So how did you get interested in the integrative nutrition, DPG, and what kind of led you to that?
Yeah. When you're doing your undergrad, obviously you become a member of the academy, and then I started looking into different DPGs, and I think I became a member of SCAN at some point, sports, cardiovascular and nutrition. I think at some point I was taking like a research class, so I thought, I'll join the research DPG. And then at some point I took a vegetarian course, so I thought, I'll just join the vegetarian DPG. And so
you tried out a few.
Yeah, I just tasted, from a bunch of them. And I think actually in the article that I wrote for the Food and Nutrition magazine, I think I called it DPG hopping. I think that's what I said.
I did notice you called it that, and I thought that was adorable, because I think it's great but I think it's good to experience all of them. Don't you think?
Yes, definitely. I mean, try to find what dietetic practice group maybe aligns better with what your interests are, and also what kind of support you get from that community. And so, actually, one of my last courses in my undergrad was, I forgot the name of it, but they made us buy this book called, it's something about functional foods. Functional. And so, I don't know, that word kind of rang, in my mind. So when I think it was 2015 at the end of the year in May 2015, how you renew every June for your academy and your DPGs. And that word functional kind of sounded, like, dietitians and integrative and functional medicine. Like, that sounds so cool. And I started looking into like their website and the kind of philosophy or type of dietetics practice that that is at the core of their, beliefs or whatever. And then it just clicked. It just clicked that it was something that it just clicked with me. I mean, the whole integrative, kind of seeing the whole person as a whole and not just, I don't know, like I feel like if we're into nutrition, we're into wellness, right? And health in general. And nutrition is part of the puzzle, But there are so many other variables to someone's health and well-being that you can't really ignore. And it just seemed like I don't want my practice to feel like all I'm doing are meal plans and giving someone a whatever X number of calorie meal plan and off they go. Like, I felt like I didn't want to do that. So I felt like the whole integrative and functional approach kind of sees things with a broader perspective and kind of takes them into account into like the health, the care plan or the nutrition prescription, whatever you want to call it. So I just felt like that was something, and I've stuck with them. So since 2015, I've been a member, and I don't think
you haven't hopped.
You haven't hopped. I will not hop.
And that sounds like it just really resonates with you, and that that's kind of where your future, kind of what you want to practice as a dietitian.
Yes, definitely.
And I noticed that you were their featured student member, which I think that's a nice honor to be recognized for that. So you must do a lot. Do you do a lot within the group?
Yeah. So this is what happened. I was a member for about a year. And I'm a student. So not only that I'm a student, but I love social media. So, I mean, you'll find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter at any given hour of the day.
Any given time.
So I was looking into the different DPGs, into their student Facebook group, and there wasn't much going on there. And I think I wrote an email to like their volunteer coordinator one day, and I was like, hey, so like your Facebook group is not like very active. Like, do you guys need help with it? Because I can help you guys like with, try to post or something. Like, if you need help, I'm here to help. Like, I'm not just going to complain about the problem. I'm going to offer like a solution or at least help. So, the chair, the film's chair at the time was Kelly Morrow. And I think she got back to me and she said, oh, well, you've contacted us at the right time because we've actually, so it was like May. So they were going from May to June. So they were switching, some people in their leadership team. So, she said, well, we're actually looking for like a student membership chair or a student membership person. And so she sent me like the job description and I said, oh yeah, I'm totally like interested. And so, actually, because our group was kind of growing at a rapid rate and there was like a big number of students joining and stuff. So it's actually two of us. So, I became the co-chair for the student membership co-chair together with Stacy Belcher, she's now an RD, but at the time she was a student like me. And, so we took it from there and I was like, oh, cool. Like now I actually have a title, which was awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great that you approached them. I think, like you said, you're not going to complain about the problem. You're going to help do something about the problem. That's such a great go-getter attitude, I think, that we all need to have.
Yeah. And you know what? I've learned so much, collaborating with Stacy, and we've revamped the student Facebook group for the DPG. We've been, posting and just making, people aware of the events or whatever's happening and, just connect. I feel like students want to connect. We want to network. We want to, find some inspiration, and so I feel like DPGs recognize that more and more. DFM has definitely recognized that students are important and we have to consider them and see how we can support them in what they do and continue to, value them as members of the DPG and of the field in general.
That's exciting. That's exciting that you were part of that kind of revamping and kind of making it more come to life.
Definitely. And yes, I was.
And I think it's. Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just gonna reference that one. That I was a feature member. That was pretty cool too. Seeing my photo up there.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's neat that. Well, and when you do put work into something and you put your heart and soul into something, it's nice to be recognized for that, right?
Yes, definitely.
And then you also wrote, you do some writing for this, is it the Student Scoop on Food and Nutrition magazine? I saw that you did an article for them too. How'd you get involved with that?
Well, actually that was, I wasn't too sure like we could even write for the Student Scoop. So what happened with me is that, actually like my academy membership switched at some point. It switched from student to active. Because, I know.
Because you graduated?
It's not good.
You gotta pay more. That's not fun.
So what happens is that when you request, or how do I say it? So I have my DPD, my didactic program. So I'm technically eligible to take the diet tech exam, the nutrition diet technician.
Yes, I was going to say that one.
And so what you have to send in a request to the academy, and then your didactic program director will sign off on it or whatever. And so I guess when you become eligible for the dietetic technician exam, then it switches over. Your membership switches over from student to active. And so I know.
Yes. Surprise.
And I have not taken it because I don't know. I don't want to say that procrastinate, but I'm also I feel like I need to study and study and study, and I just haven't had the time for that. But it's on my to-do list for this fall. Actually, I have to take it because I have to take it before Fancy. That way, my continuing education credits that I earn at Fancy I'll be eligible to yes. So that's on my to-do list, and I'm saying this on your show, so I'm accountable.
Oh my gosh. So that's pretty soon, my dear.
Yes.
So I was going to ask, how do you, so is anyone eligible to take the dietetic technician registration test in between your internship and after your bachelor's?
Yes. I think the requirements are as long as you have your bachelor's in food or nutrition, and if you have the DPD verification statement. So you do need the verification statement for your didactic program. That's all you need.
Okay. So it might be a good thing. It might be a good thing for people that maybe aren't ready to do their internship to kind of have one step kind of completed by taking that test.
Yes. I definitely think it should help when you as a candidate for internships, because it kind of shows that, number one, you can pass a test. And yes. I'm assuming most of the information that's going to be on the test, or most of the material from the test, is going to be similar to the RD test. So I'm sure it helps, and it's a credential. And like I said, if you do happen to go to Fancy, then you'll have or any other, continuing education activities, and you'll be you're a credential professional, and that's something good, I guess.
Yeah, that is something good. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I'm going to follow up with you before Fancy, and this might air after Fancy, but then we can kind of check in and see where you're at and see how you're doing. Since you did mention it, I'm going to hold you accountable for it. You're like, yes. Oh no, I'll be nice. I promise. Sometimes it's good to have that motivation, though. Kind of like, I have a goal and I need to kind of accomplish this goal by this time. So I think it's great how you're setting goals for yourself.
Yes, because to be honest, I was supposed to take this test some time ago, and I've just been putting it to the side. So now I have to no, that's it. This is it. I have to do it.
That's happening. Well, you are busy. You do have 3 children and a husband. So that does take some priority.
Definitely my priority.
Well, I was just going to, it's a good segue into kind of your future goals right now is within the next year, you're going to do the DTR test, and then you're going to kind of look at internships and applying in the spring.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of looking at also just some professional experiences in between. I know you mentioned that you're kind of applying for different jobs here and there that have more nutrition related experience.
Yes. I mean, I feel like what I'm doing now, I'm the cafe attendant at a gym or a club, as they like to call it. So I mean, it's food service because I'm doing the smoothies, the sandwiches, and so it is food service experience. So I guess it's good to have because I have none. I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom all the years that I was in school. And then I was a nanny last year. So that's totally not related to nutrition or dietetics. So now at least I have this food service, job that I'm doing. But yeah, definitely something, I'm looking into other opportunities where I can actually develop some other skills that I think would be a good something good for my resume for when it's time to apply for internships.
Sure. And that's always, I think it's good, like you said, the DPG component, finding one that you like, that you can make connections with, and you might need them in the future to help you get, either an internship experience or a job. I think that's so important. And, it's funny you mentioned that because I didn't even know what DPGs were or that they even existed when I was in your place. So I think that's great that you do that.
Yeah. And actually, it's funny you say that because I think still many students are not very aware what DPGs really are or why would they be beneficial. I know at some point I was thinking to myself, well, how would I join a dietetic practice group if I'm not a dietitian and I'm not practicing yet? So yeah, at some point I was confused too, like, whoa, that's not for me. But then, looking into them and realizing, oh, they have like a student, you could join as a student, and they actually have like things that they offer for the students and support and stuff like that. So then that's how I realized, oh, like this is really cool. And now what we're seeing now is, at least with DIFM, is what I love about DIFM too, is that they love to collaborate with other groups and other dietetic practice groups too. So like I've seen webinars that are joint in collaboration with like the Asian Indian member interest group. Sure. Recently we've featured different members who are also part of like the Diversified Dietetics. Yes.
Which
It's a new group, and I think it's fantastic. What their goal is to bring more diversity into the field, and DIFM is really big on pushing and embracing diversity. And I feel, I'm Mexican, and so I feel also that this is like a benefit for like seeing more, and not just seeing more diverse dietitians. It's not about how you look, obviously, like if you're white or if you're of color or whatever, it's not about that. But I do feel that it's important to create an environment where everyone feels welcome, and not so much us as dietitians or students, but also the clients, the patients. I've heard, sometimes people will feel more at ease when they see their ethnicity or their background represented in the medical professional field. So yeah, I'm interested in that. So eventually with DIFM, if I'm not helping with their student membership, maybe I'll help with their diversity team or something. I see myself doing that maybe in the future, because I think it's important to collaborate also with other groups and kind of help each other out. And it's all for the greater purpose of uplifting the profession and uplifting each other as members. And I don't know, it makes me like, excited just to think about that.
That's great. That's great. And I'm with you. We're all on the same team. So we need to support each other and lift each other up. That's the goal of our profession. And that's great that you're part of that. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your future. I always tell the students that I interview that we will have to have a follow-up session in a year or so and see what you're doing and how things have changed.
Yeah, I would love to be back here and give
good. I hope you're up for that.
Nice update of where we're at.
That'd be great. I would love that. And I think that your story is that it's unique, but it's also maybe not so unique. And maybe a lot of people don't talk about taking time off in between, undergrad and their internship. And we all have our own path, and thank you for sharing yours. I think it's a great way to get just new exposure to different ways we can do
and
things.
That's why I love listening to your podcast, to be honest, because you've had a variety of dietitians and students and other individuals who have like a diverse and a different a background and like where they're coming from, and I've been inspired by many of those stories. So
good. Well, now you get to inspire some people. So I think that's exciting. Yes, absolutely. Well, I always end my podcast with the hard questions that I've learned that everyone says is the hard questions. And that's my 5 questions I always ask all my guests. So will you share with me some of your favorite foods that you enjoy?
I knew these questions were coming because, like I said, I've listened to most of your podcasts. And so
I prepared you.
Sometimes before I was even invited to be on your podcast, I would always be like, what would be my answer to this question? So I've thought about them. So I love food, and it's so hard to narrow down. What
I know,
but
it's hard. If you were stranded on a desert island and you could only eat a few foods, what would they be?
I feel like there would have to be cheese somewhere. Like there's got to be cheese there.
Me too. I love cheese.
Like I don't know. Like it just sometimes a certain food will hit the spot. But I feel like if I go back to like my comfort food and even like growing up or whatever, it was always like quesadillas. Yes.
Quesadillas.
Like,
good tortillas
like
and cheese.
Thing to make. And like, I like corn tortillas. I don't like flour tortillas. Well, I like them. I'll eat them. But the real Mexican quesadilla is made with corn tortilla. Yes.
Corn is the best. I am team corn tortilla for sure.
So I feel like that's my comfort food. And whenever there's like, my day has been hectic and I just didn't plan ahead for like dinner and it was just crazy, we can always go back and rely on I always have tortillas in my fridge and I always have cheese, so I can always make a quesadilla and feed my family and we'll all be fine.
Yeah. And everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Well, that's perfect. Do you have a favorite beverage that you enjoy?
I have many, actually. I love a good cup of coffee, an iced coffee in the summer months or in the heat. It just hits the spot like a good strong. I like strong coffee, and I like it sort of sweet and creamy. But also lately, I love seltzer water. Like I love the LaCroix and just anything with bubbles. Really, I love. I love Dr. Pepper, but I try not to drink it too often.
But you enjoy it.
Yes. And if I'm eating like a nice juicy cheeseburger, like I have to have Dr. Pepper.
That seems like a really good combination.
Yeah, I know. And other than that, I love kombucha too. I love a good kombucha. And it's also kind of effervescent, kind of bubbly. So I love it.
Yes. I do like bubbles. Do you have a favorite color?
So I'd have to say it's blue. In all shades of blue. But I love colors in general. But I think there was one time or teal, maybe. I like teal and blue. I know my husband one time looked at my closet and he saw all of these teal and blue colors and he's like, do you like any other color? Like, so I always go back to those.
Do you have a favorite scent or a smell?
Well, I love the smell of like coffee.
I do too. It's just a unique smell.
And like fresh, like every morning I grind my coffee so it's fresh and I love that smell, but I can't narrow it down to just one because actually I'm really into scent. Like I used to love scented candles, but now I'm more into like essential oils. So I like to diffuse like a good, fresh, maybe like, I love lavender, but I also love citrusy smells. So I love the smell of like grapefruit,
So clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just clean.
Yeah, so I'd say coffee, but I love citrusy smells. And if I buy like a perfume or something, it'll probably be some sort of floral, but mostly like a citrusy type of scent.
Kind of a back scent. Very nice. And what brings you joy in life, Anita?
Definitely my kids and family time. I'd have to say that's the biggest joy in my life. My family, my mom. But I guess, yes, other than that, I don't know. I like to feel, I like to feel like I'm contributing in some way, somehow, to someone. So
whether it's your family or your profession,
like that makes me happy too. When I feel like I can contribute somehow.
Well, that's great. It's so great to talk to you and get to know you better. And now I know more about the person behind the social media, which is fantastic. And thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you, Anne. Like I said, I feel really, really honored to be a guest on your podcast because you're so great and I love listening to your podcast. So I'm so happy.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're going to be back on next year, so be ready.
Happy?
Okay. I'm very excited for Anita and all there is to come for her in the future. I know she's going to find a great internship and pursue her dreams of becoming a registered dietitian. I think there's a lot of strength in putting your family before yourself and still finding ways to pursue your dreams and be active in our profession. Anita has not given up and she keeps on making goals for her and her dreams to become an RD. It's very impressive, and I look forward to connecting with her in 2019. My website, AnnaElizabethRD.com, is where you can read the latest post in my Nutrition Noshes blog that has all the stories of my inspirational hell yeah happenings and adventures, some food I'm noshing on, the music inspiring my life, and possibly a really delicious real deal recipe that I'm trying to create in my kitchen. At the end of my blog, I always want to share with you what I'm loving right now, which can be anything from food to beauty products to maybe a book that I am reading. And also on my website, you can find all my previous podcasts, show notes, and links to things we talked about during my conversations with these inspiring people. If you're into reading, make sure you grab my book on my website as well. It makes a great gift or for someone that's just starting out their career, or maybe someone that's in the middle of their career and trying to figure out what they're going to do. I hope we can continue to connect on social media, and you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest at AnnaElizabethRD. Remember to be great always, find the joy in each day, and to start a conversation that truly matters.